The people of Israel, when they were moving out of Egypt and heading to the promised land, they were stuck in the wilderness for 40 years. They were stuck there because of their grumbling, complaining, and disbelief. But what we see is when Moses dies, now Joshua takes over the leadership. God appoints Joshua, and now as they are heading towards the promised land, they are facing a problem. There's the Jordan River right before them. To make the matters worse, we see the time when Joshua and the people of Israel were facing the Jordan River. It says in Joshua chapter 3, verse 15, at the end, he says, "Now the Jordan overflows all its banks throughout the time of harvest." That means at that time when Joshua and the people of Israel were looking at the Jordan River, that was the time of the year when the river was overflowing. That means it was gushing. The currents were heavy. It was overflowing. And now God brings them or leads them to that very place. Now, with the physical eyes, it seems impossible. How can it happen? How can it be done? When you look into maybe your situations, you may be feeling, how will these things come out? How will you come out of this problem? How will you cross over? But let's see certain principles that Joshua follows. We see the first thing is God tells Joshua, okay, he says in verse 3, okay, he says, "And command the people, as soon as you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God being carried by the Levitical priests, then you shall set out from your place and follow it." Now we see towards the verse 13, he says, "And when the soles of the feet of the priest bearing the ark of the Lord of all the earth, shall rest on the waters of the waters of the Jordan shall be cut off." The first amazing thing that God says is, keep your eyes on the ark. Now the ark of the covenant was symbolic of the presence of God. That means what God is saying is, don't look at the river, look at the ark, look at my presence. Let my presence guide you. When you're facing situations that seem impossible to cross over, when you're facing situations that seem impossible to come out of, first thing you need to do is keep your eyes fixed on the presence of God. Keep your eyes fixed on God. We see Peter when he was walking on the waters, as long as his eyes were fixed on Jesus, he could walk over the waters. But the moment his eyes moved away from Jesus and to his circumstance, he began to sink. That's exactly what's going to happen in each one of our lives. If we stop looking upon the presence of God, if we stop gazing upon the presence of God, we will sink. Our situations will overwhelm us. But if you want to overcome, look upon the presence of God. The second thing is, you don't wait for your problems to be resolved. Obey God, and your problems will be resolved. God spoke to the people of Israel. God spoke to Joshua, the priest who carried the ark of the covenant. The moment their sole of their feet begin to touch the Jordan River, it will part. That means they did not have to wait for the Jordan River to part. They had to put their feet into the river, and then it would part. In Moses' time, when they faced the Red Sea, God worked supernaturally. He commanded Moses to stretch out his rod, and the Red Sea parted. But here, God is saying, I'm not going to part it. You walk, and then I will part it. You obey me, and then I will part it. Normally, we want it the other way. We want to see our miracle, and then obey his voice. We want to see the signs and wonders, and then obey his voice. But God is saying, you first obey, and then you will see your miracle. And that's what the people of Israel did. The moment they saw the Ark of the Covenant, the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant, the moment they put their foot into the waters, the river parted. That's what's going to happen to you. You follow God. Keep your eyes fixed on God. Don't look to the left or to the right. Fixed on God. And what God's promise is, that he will guide you. Secondly, obey God. Don't wait for your miracle to happen. Hear his voice, obey him, and you will see your miracle. If you want to see it, you just need to obey. Follow him, keep your eyes fixed on him, and obey. God bless you.